Well, it's Mr. Stevens, if there's something that is up to Mr. Stevens. I think Dion is... It's okay, is everyone ready? Okay. Is it ready? Someone needs a second? Okay. Okay. Mrs. Lorna Stevens, Deputy Census Officer, Mr. Dwayne Dick, members of staff of the Office of the Chief Statistician, viewing and listening public, the media. Good morning and welcome to the official launch of the Population and Housing Census 2022. Before we could begin this morning's proceedings, we're going to call upon Mrs. Bernice Taylor to lead us in a word of prayer. Could you please stand?
A blessed good morning to all. Again, we want to thank you for coming and welcome you to this special occasion. Let us begin by welcoming the Almighty in our presence this morning. Eternal and Heavenly Father, we give you all the praise, glory, and honor this morning, and we thank you for blessing us with the opportunity to see yet another day. This morning, we welcome your presence at this launching ceremony and pray that you will guide the proceedings today and throughout the entire census period. We pray for your protection over everyone who will be involved in one way or another as we work towards the betterment of this country. Bless everyone present today, everyone listening, and bless our beautiful country, Dominica. In your name I pray, amen.
Good morning once again and welcome to the official launch of the Population and Housing Census 2022. For those of you just tuning in, we are located here at the Chief Statistician's office, and today we have members of staff of the Office of the Chief Statistician who are going to guide us along what Census 2022 is all about. We now invite Chief Census Officer to give us an overview of the Population and Housing Census. Mrs. Lorna Stevens.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, Ms. Challenger. Good morning. The pleasure is mine to welcome everyone here today to the launch of the Population and Housing Census under the theme, Yes, It Matters, Get Counted. Staff of the Central Statistics Office, our moderator, Ms. Aisha Challenger, the media, and all those listening via all the media houses present here today, a special good morning to you. The Population and Housing Census is conducted every 10 years due to the magnitude of its undertaking. As such, it is indeed an exciting time that we all looked forward to, since the work we are doing has a direct impact on service delivery for our people at all levels. The Population and Housing Census was scheduled for 2021. However, due to the setbacks brought about by the pandemic, we were forced to reschedule for 2022. This being the 14th Population and Housing Census in the Commonwealth of Dominica, with the first one dating back to 1871, that's over 150 years of census taking, tells us that censuses form a very integral part of our lives. The census plays a vital role in the national statistical system. Therefore, censuses are a foremost means of collecting basic population and housing statistics as part of an integrated program of data collection, compilation, and dissemination aimed at providing a comprehensive source of information for economic and social development, planning, administration, assessing conditions in human settlements, research and commercial and other uses. Many times persons ask, must I participate? Does it matter whether I participate or not? Or what do I have to do? The answer is yes, it matters, get counted. Statistical data is important for planning and for budgeting. How can you address poverty without statistics? How can you address unemployment without statistics? How can you address housing and infrastructure development without statistics? How can you accurately mitigate the impact of natural disasters without statistics? If we cannot measure precisely, then we will not be able to manage the fair distribution of resources and delivery of services. Therefore, it is important to ensure that appropriate data is available to the government and the general public, so we can plan accurately by setting specific targets that are based on statistics. The Population and Housing Census is a main data source to inform the country's national strategies, plans, and priorities, and to monitor the achievement of the goals of development that the state has committed to, such as to monitor the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda. It is also important in formulating policies in education, health, persons with disabilities, environment, and the identification of vulnerable population groups. The data from the Population and Housing Census will provide key indicators that can help the country identify risk and respond to those risks in a timely and accurate manner. It is therefore crucial that we mobilize the whole country to come forward and be counted, so that the results of the census can be used as a tool to improve service delivery. Leading up to the census, we are going to have to keep reminding every person that resides in Dominica that their inclusion is absolutely crucial for government and indeed for our own well-being. During the next few weeks, we will use all the time and resources available to us to embark on a massive publicity campaign to encourage citizens to participate in the census. The publicity campaign will educate residents that upon completion of the census, it will not be possible to identify any individual from the resultant database. The information that you give will remain confidential as required by the Census and Statistics Act. The more accurate the census is, the better equipped we will be for improved planning. After the census, we will have more accurate data for the formulation of policy as well as implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. The immediate objective of this census is to ensure 100% coverage of residents in Dominica during census month and to accurately review the visitation records from the census listing within the shortest possible time to obtain a preliminary count of the population. At this point, I would like to announce that Census Day is Saturday, 25th June 2022. Enumerators will begin data collection prior to that date. Therefore, we urge you to give your support to the census during that time. So far, in preparation for the population and housing census, the entire country has been mapped, resulting in the collection of data based on observation, which allowed for the preliminary classification of buildings by residential, commercial, or industrial. All enumeration district boundaries have been revised and delineated with updated definitions by boundary points. This has resulted in a final count of 330 enumeration districts. At present, enumerators are out in the field collecting data for the census listing exercise. For the very first time, the census listing will be conducted prior to the census enumeration and not concurrently. This will allow enumerators to engage with households and other establishments through a short questionnaire. Prior to this, the instrument for the census listing was tested, as some of you may have been visited by some of our enumerators. For the very first time, census data is collected via the use of tablets, since it is the vision of the Central Statistics Office to incorporate geographical information systems to enhance the collection, analysis, and dissemination of data. The large and complex nature of a population and housing census demands both local and external support. This allows for the achievement of credible census results and comparable data across the region that can feed into regional and national policy formulation and decision making. At this point, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the government of Dominica for being the primary financier of the population and housing census, the Caribbean Community Secretariat, or CARICOM, the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States, that's OECS, the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, the Project for the Regional Advancement of Statistics in the Caribbean, that's PRASC, and for their support throughout this activity thus far. Also not forgetting the Central Statistics Office for making this population and housing census a reality. I encourage the entire public to prepare to participate in the collection of such critical data. Remember that the census is one mandated by the law of the state, and it's not a political activity of any sort. We understand that we are currently operating under uncertain circumstances. However, extreme caution will be taken when engaging households to safeguard everyone. As I end, I would like to draw your attention to a quote this morning that I think explains in a nutshell what is required from all of us. George Bernard Shaw once said, and I quote, "It is the mark of a truly intelligent person to be moved by statistics." End of quote. Remember, yes, it matters. Get counted. I thank you.
Thank you to Mrs. Lorna Stevens for a very insightful and fitting explanation as to why it is necessary and why it definitely matters and why it is important that every single person gets counted. Simply put, without data, there's very little that can be done. Like she said, when it comes to planning, monitoring and evaluation, especially considering just a few years ago, we were basically decimated by Hurricane Maria. Knowing exactly what the economic standing of your people are, knowing the location of your people, that is extremely integral to future planning and current planning. Now we invite Mr. Dwayne Dick, who is a Deputy Census Officer, to provide us with a technical update.
We are bringing you live the Population and Housing Census launch at the Central Statistical Office. And we just heard from Mrs. Lorna Prevost-Stevens, who is the Census Officer, Chief Statistician, and she's acting in that position.
Good
and
morning,
on the
everybody.
podium is Mr. Dwayne Dick, the Deputy Census Officer.
The first phase of the 2021 Population and Housing Census, the mapping exercise, began in December 2019 and ended in April 2020. During the mapping exercise, 24 mappers visited over 30,000 structures across Dominica. The mappers collected the GPS points of every structure, along with a few other attributes based on observation only. Three major attributes were collected. First, the condition of the structure, which ranged from habitable to varying levels of damaged or left in ruins. Second, the number of floors of the structure, that is, whether it is a bungalow or multi-story building. And third, the use of the building, be it residential, an institution, or commercial. The data from the mapping exercise was used to prepare for the second phase of the census, the listing exercise. As the Chief Statistician indicated, the listing exercise commenced last week and is currently ongoing. It is being conducted separately from the Population and Housing Census Enumeration, with the aim to reduce field errors and assist in data validation. During this phase, all households will be interviewed with a short questionnaire. The questionnaire will collect the data on the number of households, the number of persons in the households by sex, the number of persons in the household based on age range, under the age of 15 and over the age of 65. Data on the status of the structure will be collected, whether it is occupied, vacant, or closed dwelling. In the event a household is engaged in agriculture, further questions will be asked. You'll see it, right? Okay. If the use of the building is commercial, data on the type of business and the number of employees will be recorded. At institutions, the number of residents disaggregated by sex will be captured. We will proceed to the third phase of the census upon completion of the listing exercise. That is the census enumeration. Data will be collected on the structure of the dwellings, the dwelling units, and the demographic and socio-economic information on the individuals. As customary, the Statistics Office will collect and disaggregate information on the parish level, parish or enumeration district level, and the data will also be disaggregated at the individual village and village hamlet level, all in the accordance of the Census and Statistics Act of the Commonwealth of Dominica and the United Nations Fundamental Principles of Official Statistics. We would like to thank everyone who has supported us, the census process thus far. It has been a collaborative process with the staff of the Central Statistics Office, the field enumerators, various government ministries, private sector entities, and the general public. Again, thanks to all your contributions in the process, and we look forward for your continued support as this national census process comes to fruition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dwayne Dick, a Deputy Census Officer, for your technical overview. And what I took away from his overview is the amount of work and effort ever since 2019 that has gone to making June 25th, 2022 a reality and a possibility. Like Mr. Dick rightfully said, it was a three-phased approach in which mapping took place, so the location of the houses and what type of dwelling, be it a dwelling house, be it a commercial building, be it a building under construction, be it a vacant property, that is integral. Then the second phase is listing, and the third phase, which is one of the most important phases, is the visitation of the enumerator to your households. So basically what this exercise is seeking to do is collecting data, and that data is going to impact various sectors. Like Mr. Dwayne just reminded us, if your household is one which engages in agriculture, it needs to be mentioned, and there will be questions on the questionnaire referencing this. There are also questions which are going to inform the education sector, the environment, the housing infrastructure, the housing sector. So people's participation in this census is essentially key to making it a success. And not to mention all the efforts and all the funding and all the collaboration that has gone in since 2019. But what we're trying to do is urge the public to participate, to welcome the enumerators into your household, and to sit and have that conversation via the way of completing the questionnaire to ensure that the information is received. Because without the information, little to nothing can really be done. What we find most persons often saying is that if you call the CSO, you can't find anything. But if you don't give it to the CSO, there will be nothing. It is simply put, simply as that. This is the reality. When we have children, be it from the high school levels, doing some sort of to the CSO for data. They come to the CSO for information. You have regional partners and international partners when it comes to actually wanting to write policies. They need data. Most things cannot just be simply written off theory. They need to see the data, they need to see the statistics. And you participating on June 25th, 2022 is key to collecting that data. Like Mrs. Stevens said, confidentiality is key, and confidentiality is guided by law. So do not think that the person's coming to your home is going to be having all your business all over the place. They can be penalized for that, and penalized for that severely. So welcome the enumerator, put a glass of water on the side for them, because, they'll be asking you a host of questions. The list is not short, the list is long, but the list is long for a reason, to ensure that the information which is relevant is collected and collated. We now invite Ms. Nella Jules to give closing remarks.
Chief Statistician and Census Officer, Mrs. Lorna Prevost-Stevens, Deputy Census Officer, Mr. Dwayne Dick, Moderator, Ms. Aisha Challenger, other members of staff, all the media personnel here this morning, the general public, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning to all. Today's launching of the Population and Housing Census is a great occasion for the office and Dominica by extension. A census by law is supposed to be conducted every 10 years. However, due to the many challenges that we faced in 2021, we are only now able to proceed with this much needed census in 2022. On behalf of the Central Statistics Office, the Ministry of Finance, I would like to extend heartfelt thanks to Ms. Challenger for presiding over this function and being the moderator for today. Job well done, thank you. I also take this opportunity to express our sincere thanks to all the media personnel present here today. GIS, DBS Radio, Carry FM, Vibes Radio, Emo News, Q95, and DNO for gracing this occasion. Your presence here today in this function has immensely enhanced its importance. We are extremely grateful to you. Special thanks to the government of Dominica, to the regional and international organizations who have supported us thus far. We have listened to a powerful message from the Chief Statistician and Census Officer. We have heard the technical side. We have heard Ms. Challenger. I would like once again to appeal to the general public to participate in the population and housing census. The information is of great importance to national development and decision making. It is even more important than ever before, as in the last 10 years, we have had Tropical Storm Erica, we have had Hurricane Maria, we have had COVID-19. All of these events have contributed significantly to net migration, and therefore updated and current data is needed for the population of Dominica. Therefore, when the enumerators come to your home, please welcome them with open arms. Be honest and willing to participate in the census. Thank you once again to everyone, and remember, yes, it matters. Get counted. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jules, for your closing remarks. And just a reminder to the public, you may visit the Facebook page, the Central Statistics of Dominica. You can also visit the website, www.stats.gov.dm. Or if you have any questions or concerns, you may call the office at 266-3405. We thank you for those of you who have tuned in. We appreciate the media being here, because without the media, the word does not get around. And we thank you for placing importance on realizing the role that you play in Census Day 2022. So when you get back to your various offices, please give this as much broadcast and airtime as possible. Please be lenient on us with your fees, because we'll be doing a lot of campaigning in the next few weeks up until June 25th. So we thank you once again for those of you tuning in, and thank you to the media. And most definitely, we're not going to forget the CSO and her staff, who have actually been putting in all the work to make Census Day, June 25th, 2022, a reality. Thank you.
So that's it as far as this press conference at the Central Statistical Office, Dominica's Population and Housing Census, the launch of this very, very important activity when you consider what a census does for a country, when you look at the thrust towards national development and decision making, and how a census in a country like Dominica, of course, will steer the way forward for national development. The advice is for everyone to welcome the enumerators when they come to your home. The last census was conducted in 2011, and so the census was really scheduled for 2021 because the count is done every 10 years. But the setbacks that were brought about by COVID-19 forced the department to conduct the exercise this year. And we also have to realize how important statistical data is, in terms of planning and budgeting. And the census will really provide key indicators that can help Dominica identify risks and also respond and take action in a very timely manner. And that is crucial, particularly now with so many challenges. So a massive publicity campaign will soon be conducted to encourage citizens to really get on board to realize the importance of this exercise. Mention was also made that Census Day this year, the big day, Census Day, is on the 25th of June. So enumerators will begin data collection even prior to that date. And for the first time, we understood as well that census data is collected by the use of tablets. So this is certainly a notch up in terms of how this important exercise is conducted. And really, when you look at, again, the importance of census, it really undertakes a comprehensive, high-quality count of all residents and buildings, and that will determine demographics, socio-economic and environmental characteristics as well, and particularly how these have changed since the last census. So the last census, as I mentioned, was in 2011. So that's it for us, DBS Radio at the Central Statistical Office, the launch of the population and housing census. Of course, DBS News will bring excerpts on the newscasts, the various newscasts. And as was mentioned, very soon this aggressive marketing campaign will be undertaken. So DBS Radio will be on board with this. And of course, we will do our best as we disseminate the information, as we let people aware of the importance of this and how they should embrace this, how they should get on board. Because what we really want to see is how we can move forward in our development. So on behalf of our technicians on duty, and I have with me this morning Aaron Wilshire and Denzel Shillingford from the Central Statistical Office at the Financial Center. We're on the first floor. Ivona John Baptist Logie going back to Studio 1.